Assalamualaikum. So for today in this video, I'm going to explain the difference between job, batch and contract costing. So let us begin. Okay, before we begin with the definition, okay, I'm going to brief to you, okay, the learning outcomes for this video. Basically, at the end of my explanation, I want you to be able to differentiate between job, batch and contract costing, as well as to provide one example, at least one example, okay, for each job, batch and contract costing. So listen to this video carefully. Okay, the first costing method, job costing. It is basically defined, okay, as a system, okay, a costing method where the cost, okay, of the work is being accumulated and recorded, okay, specifically where there is an identifiable activity going on. Okay. Furthermore, for job costing, each job is assigned a job number or a job name to ascertain the actual cost incurred for each job. Job costing system accumulates costs separately for each product or service produced or served based on the jobs undertaken. Okay, few examples of business types that are applying job costing method are, okay, interior decoration, painting, catering, architecture, printing, repairing, and tailoring. Okay, there are many few other examples, right, that you can start to think of. Okay, let's move on to batch costing. Batch costing system or costing method, okay, is very similar to job costing method, only that each batch of similar articles, products, units is separately identifiable. Each batch is a group of similar articles, products, or units which maintains its identity through the production and is treated as a cost unit. Examples of industry which practice batch costing method. They are pharmaceutical products, okay, industry which produce pharmaceutical products, ready-made garments, electrical tools, makeup products, textbooks, and many more. So how do we determine the cost for each job? Basically, in order to determine the cost for each job assigned, okay, the business need to prepare a job cost sheet. What is a job cost sheet? It is basically a compilation of the actual cost of a job. And the report is compiled by the accounting department and distributed to the management team to see if a job was correctly bid. The sheet is usually completed after the job has been closed, though it can be compiled on a concurrent basis. What is the purpose of a job cost sheet? In job order costing system, a job cost sheet is maintained for each job. It shows information about the total cost of a particular job. Each job cost sheet break down the costs into direct materials, direct labor, and production overhead. In this slide, okay, I will show you how a job cost sheet is being prepared. This is basically just an illustration, right? The details of the items in the job cost sheet depends on the item used, okay, for each particular job. So in this example, we have materials, okay, used by each department, department X, Y, and Z, as well as the direct labor, okay, payable to the labor from each department in hourly basis, okay, and the production overheads. The production overheads to be absorbed, okay, by each department. So basically, for the production overheads cost, we need to determine the overhead absorption rate, and that we studied in the previous chapter. So what about batch costing? Okay, basically, for a batch costing, the preparation of cost sheet is the same as job costing. We identify all the direct materials, direct labor, direct expenses, and all the production overhead as well as admin and selling overhead to determine the total cost. It is similar to job cost sheet of a job costing. Only that a job cost sheet prepared for job costing is usually prepared for in order to determine the total cost for a particular job, for a single unit product. However, in a batch costing, the determination of the unit cost, the cost per unit, is basically we need to divide the total cost as shown in the slide, okay, 27,375 ringgit. That is the total cost determined for, let's say, one particular batch, okay, and we need to divide this cost with the number of units produced for this particular batch. Let's say the number of units in this one particular batch is 100. So we need to divide the total cost, the 27,375 ringgit, with 100 units. And that would give us the unit cost or the cost per unit for one particular product under the batch costing method. Okay, now let's move on to contract costing. The definition for contract costing is a costing method, right, which is used to collect and identify all the expenses relating to a specific contract. It requires a longer period, okay, to complete the work under this costing method. Okay. Okay, examples of the work, okay, or industry that applies contract costing method are road construction, highway construction, building construction, basically anything to do with construction, okay, renovation, shipbuilding, okay, and few others, right? From the example, we can see that the type of business or industry which practices contract costing is the one that requires larger scale of work to be done, okay, basically construction companies, okay, renovation companies, so on and so forth, anything similar to those businesses. Okay, now the illustration for contract costing would be as shown in this slide. We can see that for a contract costing, okay, we list all the materials, labor, and any other expenses incurred for that particular contract, okay, as well as the profit and loss, okay, for any materials lost, stolen, or destroyed, and the work in progress account. Any details on the work in progress account is also shown in a contract costing. Now, can you see the difference between a simple job cost sheet with the contract account? I hope you do. So basically, we have come to an end, okay, on the explanation and the definition for all the three costing method: job, batch, and contract costing. So why don't we move on to some Q&A? Shall we? Question: which costing method should be applied by a legal firm? A. Job costing, B. Batch costing, or C. Contract costing? Yep, the answer is job costing. A. Well done, guys. Okay, next question. Which costing method is similar to one another? Is it A, job and contract costing, B, batch and job costing, or C, contract and batch costing? The answer is B, batch and job costing. Did you get this right or wrong? Okay, the final question. Which costing method requires longer period to complete? A, job costing, B, batch costing, or C, contract costing? And the answer is C, contract costing. So we have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope it benefits you in any way that it could. Assalamualaikum.